They are bundled up tonight in Kansas City, and rightfully so. It is a chilly night in KC. Welcome inside beautiful Kauffman Stadium for the finale of this very brief two-game stop for the Redlegs, trying to even this series before getting out of town at a game apiece, battling the defending American League champion Kansas City Royals. Hi again, everybody. Alongside Chris Welsh and Jim Day, I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome, as always, to Reds baseball. Now, these Royals, we know their bullpen's outstanding, but all of a sudden, the last couple of days anyway, Chris, last night, day before against the Yankees, back-to-back shutouts.
Well, they were beginning to believe in themselves, I think. They may need some pitching help down the line, but you can see what they've done. First time they've had back-to-back shutouts since September of 1992. That's going way back, more than 3,500 games. And the longest stretch in Major League Baseball by more than 1,200 games. So you're looking for history tonight. They're going to turn to Jeremy Guthrie to do that, a right-hander that, by the way, pitched Game 7 of the World Series last year. So like everybody else on this ball club, he believes in himself. He believes in this ball club, and they're playing about as well as they can play right now. He's not going to overwhelm you with stuff at all. His overall numbers this year are not good, but lately he's been very good. 2-0 with a 2.9 the last couple of starts. Fastball, sinker, and a little bit of a slider here and there, and a good changeup, and that's really what it is for Jeremy Guthrie. Jason Marquis hopes to right the ship after getting beat up a little bit by the San Francisco Giants his last time out. Overall, 3-3, 9 home runs allowed. 7 of those home runs have come off the bats of right-handers. So Marquis is going to have to figure out a way to keep right-handers in the ballpark if he's going to stay in the rotation. And Mike Moustakas. Have we seen enough of this guy yet? I would say so. Yes. He's spraying the ball all over the place. He used to be a dead pull hitter, try to hit it in the teeth of the shift. No more. He's hitting the ball all over the place. He was 3 for 4 last night in a game started by Johnny Cueto. That's something to call home about. A couple of RBIs. That's all they really needed because they were shut out. The Reds were overall, and I'll tell you, you've got to quiet down some of those guys. Moustakas is the guy in the lineup that if you look at him in the on-deck circle, you say to yourself, I'm not allowing him to be the guy that beats me.
One guy not in the Reds lineup tonight, but he's been playing virtually every day for Kansas City. It's a homecoming of sorts for Brian Pena. Jim Day has that and more when we return. You're watching Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio.
Baseball on Fox Sports Ohio is brought to you by Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network. Stay close to CincinnatiUSA.com. By Chevy. Check out our award-winning lineup only at your Tri-State Chevy dealer. And by Skyline Chili. Feeling good? It's Skyline time. I'm Jim Day on the field here at Kauffman Stadium, and it is a bit of a homecoming for Reds catcher Brian Pena. He was a former Royal and enjoyed his years here. Last 2 days, it has been a parade to get to Brian Pena, to re-greet, to reacquaint themselves, and of course that trademark smile throughout as he got to see former teammates once again. And after the game last night, Pena sent out this tweet. Thank you to Royals fans. I had a great time and nice memories here with you guys. I appreciate your reception today. God bless you all. I talked to Pena about his KC return.
I had the chance to say hi to them, and especially, guys like Kendry Morales, a guy that I grew up with him in Cuba. So our history comes, long way back, and it was fun. It was fun to go out there and to see them and the guys from the media and stuff like that, because I spent a lot of time, with them and talking to them, and it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool.
And as cool as it is for Pena to see his former teammates, he would certainly like to beat them tonight. The Reds trying to stop the slide at 4. Up next, Tom Brenneman and Chris Welsh with all the play-by-play action. Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio.
Day tomorrow, Cleveland over the weekend. Let's take a look at Brian Price's starting lineup tonight. Reds at 18 up, 21 down. It's presented by Meyer. Bozart again leading off. Brandon Phillips tonight in the 2-hole with no Brian Pena in the lineup. Votto batting third. A middle third of Todd Frazier, Marlon Byrd, and Jay Bruce. Once again, Devin Mesoraco, the DH. He had a couple of hits last night. Billy Hamilton at center and Tucker behind the plate. Guthrie got off to a terrible start this year, but as we just showed you a moment ago, Chris, his last couple of outings have been very, very solid.
Well, they have been solid, Tom. Last 2 outings overall, if you're going to look like that. But, he's got who's 36 years old. He's kind of the 4th or 5th starter in the rotation. What he does as well as anybody around is he eats up innings. It's almost a guarantee that he's going to give whatever team he's pitching for 180 to 200 innings. He may not necessarily have a winning record at the end of the year. He's 14 games under 500 in his major league career, or make it 16 games under 500. But he's out there time after time after time. And if you give him a few runs, he'll keep you in the game.
Guthrie originally came up with the Cleveland Indians back in 2004. 3 years there, a good long run at it in Baltimore. 1 season in Colorado, Kansas City, his 4th year with the Royals. He delivers strike 1 to Zach Kozar. A .290 batter, 6 home runs, and 17 runs batted in. Skies are clearing a bit, as there's a fly ball, and looking into those clearing skies is his center fielder Lorenzo Cain. 52 degrees our game time temperature here tonight. The Royals very good on defense. It's presented by Ford. Same group we saw last night at every position except, of course, Guthrie on the hill. Last night it was all about Yordano Ventura. 7 innings of 4-hit shutout baseball. The bullpen 2 hitless innings to finish it up. Brandon Phillips 0 for 3 last night. The Reds only had 3 players in their lineup collect hits last night. They had a total of 4 in the game. Devin Mesoraco had 2 hits, was on base all 3 times, including a walk. Jay Bruce with a hit, and Todd Frazier a hit.
You know, when you face a guy like Jeremy Guthrie, I was looking through all of his numbers as far as a breakdown of the types of pitches he throws during different outings so far this year. And he alternates between falling in love with his slider and falling in love with his changeup. You don't know which night it's going to be, but usually one of those pitches that dominates his choice when it comes to secondary pitch. Could be pitching around a lineup. You know, if you got a lot of left-handers, he's going to throw more changeups. The right-handers, he'll throw more sliders.
And that one's looped into right center field, and a base hit for Brandon Phillips. So he's a 1-out base runner as we get into the meat of the batting order, starting with first baseman Joey Votto. Brandon has 5 stolen bases, successful on all 5 of his attempts. But remember now, he had to miss a couple of games last week, diagnosed with turf toe. And while we've seen him run pretty well the last few days, you wonder if he's all the way back to being at 100%.
No, he's not. I can tell you that, Tom. And you can pretty much take the running game with maybe the exception of Billy Hamilton right out of the picture, because Guthrie's very quick to the plate. Salvador Perez behind the plate is about as good as it gets in the American League as far as catch and throw guy.
You know, it's so interesting, this shift they're putting on Joey Votto, because we see the Reds play virtually every day. And throughout his career, he has always been a guy that can and will and does hit the ball the other way. But perhaps they're seeing a pattern this year, because we've not seen many teams going back over the last number of seasons that put a shift on Votto.
Well, you're right. And I think it's very interesting. I'm wondering if this is a get in your head shift.
It's a very good question. And that pretty much backs it up that he's spraying the ball all over the field.
He is predominantly to right field, obviously, but he always sprays the ball. I mean, he's as committed to hitting the ball to left field as anybody the Reds have on their team. But sometimes, though, especially right-handers, if you're boring in there with a breaking ball, that's a pitch that's almost impossible to hit the other way. You can take a fastball on the inner third of the plate and stay inside the ball and get it into left field. But that slider or that cutter that is coming right in on your hands, it's almost impossible to hit the ball to left, and they are challenging him right now to put that ball anywhere over there.
1 ball and 2 strikes on Joey Votto. Brandon is very short lead. He'll draw throw. Votto's batting average has been tumbling rapidly during this month of May after an outstanding month of April. If I can go back to the beginning of this month, Votto had 7 home runs and 17 runs batted in. he's still sitting on 7 home runs and only 4 more RBIs, just 1 extra base hit, and not walking with nearly the same frequency with which he did in the season's first month.
Well, he was hitting .329 at the first of the month as well. That average now .284. And you know, Tom, they say that a lot of times hitting is contagious. You know, you get one guy in the lineup and then somebody else begins to hit, and before you know it, you got 3 or 4 guys all swinging the bat. Well, the Reds have not gone through a couple of series where they felt like that yet.
There's ball 4 to Votto, and the Reds have something cooking here in the top half of the first inning. A single and a walk after Cozart was retired, and Todd Frazier's coming up. Frazier just a couple of days ago was tied with Bryce Harper of the Washington Nationals for the league lead in home runs. But my, oh my, is Bryce Harper. He's not red hot, he is white hot. The second youngest player in the history of baseball to club 15 home runs or more in the team's first 40 games of a season.
Well, it may be worth noting that the last couple of games that Jeremy Guthrie pitched so well in, where he had a different catcher behind the plate. He had Drew Butera catching him, and he pitched in 2 very difficult places to pitch. Pitched a really good game in Detroit against the Tigers, and another game against Texas in Arlington. That's a very difficult place to pitch. Both day games. And maybe the change of catcher here is going to give him a little something to try to get used to.
This is down and away again to Frazier. 2 balls and no strikes.
This is as legitimate a rally as the Reds have had here since they came to town. Of course, they've only played 1 game, but Giordano Ventura did not allow them much of anything last night.
3-0.
Well, I'm green lighting them all the way. I don't know whether he has a green light or whether Todd Frazier really likes to hit on 3-0 count. Some guys don't.
I think Frazier's been one of those guys that will hack 3-0, but that doesn't even come close to the strike zone. So the Reds have him loaded for Marlon Byrd. Big article written in a local paper today about Ned Yost and Jason Vargas, starter for many years in the major leagues, who's coming back off the disabled list as early as next week, and asking the question who will go and laying out the various scenarios which could take place. A very slight mention of Guthrie. Reds trying to jump on him right from the get-go tonight. And there's strike 1 to Bird, a .214 batted. 8 home runs, 23 runs batted in.
Like, who would go where? Either away from the ball club or to the bullpen? I wouldn't think there'd be a little bit of everything. Yeah.
I mean, there were multiple scenarios laid out. You know, Chris Young is off to such a great start, but he faltered down the stretch in Seattle last year because he pitched too much. Older guy, been around a long time. You know, do you want to move him down to the bullpen and maybe save him to come back in later in the year to the rotation if you need him?
You're looking at a guy that started Game 7 in the World Series last year.
Well, he waited a long time to get there. Last year, at 35 years old, that was the first time he had ever pitched or played in the postseason.
And not only in games, he also started a game in the ALCS.
We knew it. They're thinking about changing the name to ACLS, I heard, next year. There's a swing and a foul ball out of play.
I'd just say the game against the Orioles.
One ball and 2 strikes to Marlon Byrd. Reds are 8-10 all time against these Royals. They've lost those 6 of the last 7. Bird is out of there on strikes. 2 away in the inning.
Boy, good old country hardball right there. He just goes right after Marlon Bird with a four-seam fastball, spots it up on the outer part of the plate, says, here it is. And after nibbling around Joey Votto and Todd Frazier, he did that efficiently.
Boy. Here's Jay Bruce at 194, has 7 home runs and 19 runs batted in. Strike one.
Late.
Bruce trying to pick up his teammate Marlon Bird, who strikes out with 1 away and the bases loaded. Jay chasing that high fastball, comes up empty. It's 0-2.
Well, you just wonder how a pitcher can turn it on like Guthrie has over the last 5 or 6 pitches. I mean, he really looked like he was on the verge of losing it. Now he looks like he's on the verge of blowing everybody away.
We pointed out one of the major differences between these two teams, and my oh my, is it a major number of batting with runners in scoring position, and especially hitting with runners in scoring position and 2 outs. And Guthrie will wiggle off the hook. The Reds leave him loaded in the opening inning. Jason Marquis will take the mound when we return. Winningest manager in Kansas City Royals franchise history, led them to the World Series a year ago. And his starting lineup reads as follows: Escobar, Moustakas and Kane to start it, Hosmer, Kendrys, Morales, and Alex Gordon in the middle. Salvador Perez, Omar Infante, and Orlando, the latter third, against Jason Marquis, trying to regroup from a shellacking against the Giants.
Now Jason, like his counterpart Jeremy Guthrie, 36 years old, making start number 317 in his major league career.
What's a lot of starts?
It is a lot of starts, and he's 7 games over 500 over all those years.
And he paints the outside corner on back-to-back fastballs to Alcides Escobar, a 296 batter. Escobar, a guy that was handpicked to come over here by Ned Yost after leaving Milwaukee. Both of them were in Milwaukee together. Fly ball will back up Jay Bruce, and Marquis retires Escobar to start the KC first inning.
It'll be interesting to see really what the strategy of the Royals will be against Marquis. Marquis' a guy that, you know, it's important for him to get the first strike in there, but he's been shown this year to be susceptible to giving up hits early in the count. And they're a team that really doesn't take a lot of walks. They're teams that, you know, they're up there to swing the bat a little bit, not necessarily try to hit home runs, but they like to swing it.
1-1 on Moustakas.
In fact, their walks are down among the lower tiers in the American League, but their strikeouts are also down too. They almost offset each other in that way.
Two balls and two strikes.
Really an interesting story about Moustakas. We've talked about it. We've talked about it in the pregame. We talked about it in our open. What a difference he's made in his own approach just over the last few years.
On the ground right at Frazier. 2 up, 2 down. Take a look at the Reds on defense. Presented by Ford. Bird, Hamilton, Bruce in the outfield. Frazier and Kozar the left side of their infield. Brandon and Votto on the right side. That duo tonight starting for the 872nd time together. Marquis and Tucker Barnhart the batter. And that's a changeup this time around with Barnhart back behind the plate working with Marquis. Tucker has settled in quite nicely working with Mike Leake over the last 4 starts. He only 4-1 the last one by Leake. Other than that, he has been sensational this year. Leake will get the ball in the opening game in Cleveland. That'll be on Friday night after an off day tomorrow against Carlos Carrasco. 1-1 pitch to Lorenzo Cain. Breaking ball just low.
Reds are going to face 3 pretty good pitchers in Cleveland. Carlos Carrasco, then Corey Kluber. Even though his record is bad, he is really throwing the ball well.
Line softly to Brandon. We'll talk about those matchups in a minute.
And then Trevor Bauer.
Pitching real hard. That'll be on Sunday, July the 12th. All-Star Sunday. Tickets available online at allstargame.com. And Chris, here are the matchups you were just starting to talk about a moment ago in Cleveland. Kluber, the reigning American League Cy Young Award winner. And Trevor Bauer, yet another very highly drafted pitcher that the Arizona Diamondbacks in recent years have traded away. Well, you think about what could be for that Diamondback staff. I mean, you really think about it. Now, they had the bad luck with Daniel Hudson getting injured. He's back for the first time this year, which is great news. But remember, they had Max Scherzer. They had Trevor Bauer. And there's somebody, I'm coming up with a blank. As you see, Cueto will lock up with Bauer. That is the marquee matchup of the weekend, but 3 good ones.
It's an all right-handed weekend.
And a right-handed batter against a right-handed pitcher to begin this second inning. 1-2 on Devin Mesoraco. Reds loaded the bases in the first inning with 1 out. But Guthrie got down to business, struck out Marlon Byrd, and got Jay Bruce on a fly ball to center. He'll get Mesoraco on a pop-up to the first baseman, Hosmer. 1 away. Chris, I know you brought up the name Manny Parra last night. Been on the disabled list with a strained neck last night. Made a rehabilitation assignment for AAA Louisville. And threw a perfect first inning against the Norfolk Tides, where he struck out all 3 batters he faced on only 13 pitches. So a couple of more outings for him. And the Reds might get some help down that bullpen.
Yeah, that's good to see there with Manny Parra coming back and being healthy, because you know what he can do when he is healthy and throwing the ball right. David Holmberg, the left-hander, took up in that particular game after Manny Parra did and pitched 6+ innings and ended up getting the win in that ball game.
You always continue to get back to Holmberg, because you were the guy last year when he had those first couple of outings that didn't go so well, and you kept saying, you know, I think they ought to keep an eye on this guy, and I'll be doggone, he didn't come back up in September, and he lit it up. Pitched beautifully for the Reds.
Well, you got to take advantage of your opportunities, and you have to earn your spots, and we'll see if he's able to do that this year. You got a number of guys down there, Tom. First of all, you got 2 really good pitchers up here in the bullpen. You don't know how long they're going to be in the bullpen here. Michael Lorenzen and Raisel Iglesias.
Yep.
John Moscott throwing the ball well down there at AAA, and some others as well.
Philly with a pop-up to Gordon in short left. 2 up, 2 down for Guthrie here in the second inning. Tucker Barnhart in the driver's seat, brought to you by Kia. Look what this guy's been doing with the bat, Chris. We've always known what an outstanding defender he has always been coming up through the Reds minor league system. But at least when he's getting a chance to swing the bat at the big league level right now, he's done very well.
He's actually hitting big league pitching better than he hit AAA pitching.
Pulled foul. Tucker, the pride of Brownsburg, Indiana. Same hometown, of course, as what Drew Storn of the Washington Nationals. Lance Lynn of the St. Louis Cardinals, just on the outskirts of Indianapolis. Well, it's been a rough go for Dan Jennings, just named the manager for the Miami Marlins. They are on the brink of being swept in a series against the Arizona Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks were not playing good baseball. In fact, they had just been swept before they arrived in Miami by the Philadelphia Phillies, among the worst teams in all the National League. Dribbler foul. That Marlins team at 16-24. They're trailing 4-0 tonight. The only teams with a worst winning percentage: the Milwaukee Brewers, the worst. Colorado, second. 3-2 on Tucker Barnhart. It's interesting to note, the team with the worst winning percentage in Major League Baseball is a team that has won a pile of games over the last number of years, the Oakland Athletics. And you can't believe your eyes every time you look up at that Houston Astros team. You were talking about them at dinner tonight.
It really is amazing. I mean, what they've done there, they are 13 games over 500. And they've done a lot of their damage on the road.
Gone swinging is Barnhart. No score in Kansas City.
Elk, the good and bad of interleague. These are interleague records since the start of last season, and difference between two teams. The Reds dead last, 7-17, and these Royals 16-5, best in all of Major League Baseball. And Tom and Chris, as we know, they all count the same, but the Reds need to do better in interleague play going forward if they want to get to the promised land this year or years coming up.
Well, I mean, even historically, and as you mentioned, Jim, for whatever reason, and of course, when interleague play initially began, the Reds just didn't have good teams. So, they went through an extended period of getting kicked around by some of the American League clubs. But, up until last year, they had a really nice run of going to the playoffs 3 out of 4 years, to the postseason 3 out of 4 years, and even in those years, they did not play particularly well.
You're right.
In interleague play. Base hit into right field by Hosmer, and that will go all the way to the wall. Hosmer with his 10th double of the year, and he'll slam on the brakes. We told you the Royals, a doubles machine. 2 in a game last night, giving them, including this one, 85 on the year.
But you really can't feel all that bad about that if you're Jason Marquis. Look what that pitch was. I mean, it was ankle high. And on the outer part of the plate, and Hosmer just went down there to get it. This is a very impressive hitting ball club. And I think what would even makes them more dangerous this year is that after having been in the World Series and through all the rigors of not just 1 or 2 playoff games, but all the way to the 7th game of the World Series, this is a team that now believes in itself, that they can do it. That they've reached the pinnacle, and they were just a couple of outs away from taking that win away from the Giants last year and them being the world champions.
Well, those are the banners and the T-shirts you see all over town the last couple of days. Believe, period, again, period. Been a long time since they had much to cheer about prior to last year here in Kansas City. And this is picture perfect in moving that runner down to third base. Kendrys Morales advancing Hosmer to third, 1 out in the inning. it's one thing to get to the postseason, and we know we've seen the Reds do it in recent years. It's another thing to win in the postseason. And the confidence that a team can carry with it moving forward. You know, you obviously have to have all the right cast of characters return. A lot of teams lose big players. That's not been the case with the Royals. Alex Gordon down a strike. Everybody has to be healthy coming back the next year. And they certainly have been blessed with very good health by and large up and down their 25-man roster. This is clearly a very, very confident Kansas City Royals club. The entire left side of the infield is wide open. Frazier is standing right next to the line with a runner at third. And there are three infielders on the right side. Hooked in the right. Catch by Bruce. Here comes a runner. Here comes a throw. Not going to be in time. They get him on, get him over, get him in. 1-0 Kansas City.
Or the value of a double to lead the inning off, especially if you got some guys behind you that'll make some contact. Now they're asking for an appeal. Evidently there's been timeout, so there won't be a continuous appeal. Although there is a continuous appeal right here. We'll see how it's made. No, he did not leave early. I thought that they'd already called timeout. He'd have to get back on the mound and put it back in play.
So 2 down, a run home. And here's Salvador Perez, a .289 batter, 5 home runs, 21 runs batted in.
You know, look how far Perez is away from home plate. I mean, you're thinking to yourself, well, I'm going to pitch him away. But usually guys that are that far away from the plate want the ball outside. They want to extend those arms and get the good part of the bat on it. He does that, but doesn't find a hole.
That ball is smoked. So the Royals score first. A double, a ground ball, and a fly ball. 1-0. We go to the third. With a couple of guys that love getting out of Cincinnati for whatever reason. Zach Cozart and Brandon Phillips, 2 of the top 5 hitters in the league on the road. Well, they'd love for both of those guys to get something started here in the third inning. Reds down to Jeremy Guthrie and Kansas City, 1-0. Cozart and Brandon will go 1-2 to start this inning. And on the very first pitch, Cozart pops it up. And that'll go into foul ground, and that's real easy. Cozart has really struggled since being taken out of that bottom part of the batting order spot. He went 0 for 4 last night. He was 0 for 4 the finale against the Giants. 0 for 3 the game before that.
Really, Tom, I mean, it brings you the question, I mean, really what causes that? I mean, you're still up there by yourself hitting the baseball. I mean, why should you hit any differently in the number 1 hole than you do when you're batting 7th or 8th? Sometimes you get pitched differently, though. That is where maybe the biggest difference lies, because pitchers will look at the lineup and they always bear down more on the top of the lineup, knowing that the thumpers are coming after numbers 1 and 2.
Brandon had a base hit into right field his first time up. And behind here, nothing in 2. Big crowd on hand here tonight. We told you the Royals attendance way up, averaging right around 31,000 per game. I mean, this time a year ago, you come in here on a Thursday night or Wednesday night, cold nights, both nights, probably have 14, 13, 12,000 here. It's a beautiful ballpark, which they renovated in 2009. That ball hit hard by Brandon, but Kane is there for the second out of the inning. Just a reminder, coming up later on, we'll have our Miller Time moment. It's brought to you by Miller Lite. Reds would love to celebrate an end to this current 4-game losing streak. They were 1 game over 500 after beating the Giants last Thursday night in the opener of that 4-game set. And the Giants scored 30 runs over the next 3 days, outslugging the Reds 9-8 in the series finale. And Votto bangs one into right center field, a base hit.
Votto may have went to school watching what Jeremy Guthrie was doing to both Brandon Phillips and then Zach Kozar before him. First pitch breaking ball right there, and Votto is all over it.
Todd Frazier drew a walk, which loaded the bases. If you're just joining us, the Reds did so with 3 in a row reaching base after one was out in the inning. Phillips singled, Votto walked, Frazier walked, but then all of a sudden Guthrie found the strike zone, fanning Bird and getting Bruce on a fly ball to retire the side. No damage done. Tell you what, in this yard, fly balls go to die on these chilly nights. That was short of the warning track. 1-0 Kansas City, middle of the 3rd. Nationals next weekend, May the 29th through the 31st, presented by KOI Auto Parts. Fireworks on Friday, big giveaways during the entire weekend. For tickets, call 513-381-REDS. Visit select Kroger locations or log on to Reds.com. Kroger, of course, part of the hometown team. Number of Reds fans have been here the last couple of nights. Seen a lot of them in the team hotel. Beautiful area of town where we stay, coming here in Kansas City, called the Plaza. Diving play by Frazier, and he will throw out Omar Infante to start the Kansas City third, with the Royals leading 1-0.
That's one part of Todd Frazier's game that I don't believe he gets enough credit for. I mean, the work that he's done to get so much better, a lot of that came from the instruction and tutoring got from Scott Rowland while Rowland was here, and Frazier was essentially watching him and holding his glove for him. But I mean, that's a very athletic play right there. Drafted as a shortstop out of Rutgers, moved to the outfield at times in the minor leagues, and moved over to third base where he sticks.
Breaking ball from Marquis, snaps in there to Orlando. Jason has pretty good stuff tonight. Throwing the ball well.
Well, he's hitting the outside corner. That's the important spot for him. Down and away to right-handers. Not let that ball float back over the plate.
Good tilt right there to get ahead 0-2.
Interesting, when you break down the numbers on Jason Marquis, left-handers versus right-handers, you find the right-handers actually have had a better success against Marquis than left-handers have. Which tells me that his off-speed pitch to lefties, which is that splitter, is a superior pitch to his slider. And you see against righties, he's given up a .368 batting average, 7 home runs. And against lefties, not nearly as bad. That's opposite of the way most guys are. Better hurry.
Marquis does, and throws out the speedy Orlando, 2 away.
Well, that's a nice play right there by Marquis. He's a good athlete.
And a very likable guy. He's a pro. He's a pro.
He softened a little bit over the years.
Yep.
There was a time when he was in Atlanta, first drafted out of high school in New York. And he was pretty much characterized as a hard-headed individual, very stubborn.
A rough and tough New York guy, you know, New York City guy.
Mm-hmm. Kind of interesting, really, the matchup we have tonight. Marquis is 36. He's from New York. And Guthrie is 36. He's from Oregon. Opposite ends of the spectrum there.
In every way. Running into foul ground, Jay Bruce with a nice catch. That was Oregon looking against the Bucks this past January. All-Star game in Cincinnati on Fox for you and 3 others. Upload 2 photos at foxsports.com/fantastic all-star right now, and then you have till June the 3rd to get that in. With Chris Welsh and Jim Day, Tom Brenneman, our entire crew on hand in Kansas City. Well, there's a relationship that you wonder where it's headed. He's got his Royals blue. She has her Cincinnati red. Actually, that might turn out quite nicely.
Why not?
Why not? Marlon Byrd, the single biggest out of the night, perhaps, for Guthrie. He had to get the final out in that first inning, but when he faced Byrd, the bases were loaded for the Reds with only 1 out, and Guthrie struck Marlon out. Byrd to be followed by Jay Bruce and Devin Mesoraco. Royals scored their only run in the second on a double. A ground ball to the right side, advancing the runner. A fly ball scored it. 2-2 to Byrd. For some of us, it doesn't seem like all that long ago, as that one's grounded to the right side. A pirouette by Infante throws out Byrd, 1 away. But Chris, you were a player back in the 1980s, mid-1980s, when the Royals were among the very best, crowned a World Series champion during that decade. And well, they used to pack them in here, and they had some great teams and some great players.
My 1 year in the American League, I came through here, and you're right, this place was exciting. Remember, it was all AstroTurf, and it was some of the fastest turf you ever saw. And when it got wet, it was very, very slick. And all the warning track areas and the brown area in front of home plate was all tartan. You know, it's like that rubberized stuff. Yeah. And man, oh man, you know, you get guys like Willie Wilson running around, and it was a fast game. It was like being played on ice almost. In fact, this may have been where Lonnie Smith earned the nickname Skates.
Skates. Kept falling down out of left field.
Great nickname.
Oh yeah. Look at this. And Jay Bruce legs it out. That is the 3rd baseman coming to get that ball. Mike Moustakas, who had moved over in the shift. And he had to come get it because Infante was playing so far back. There you see him.
Now this is really just a no man's land ball right there. I don't think that Infante gets that ball and gets Jay Bruce any more than the 3rd baseman coming over.
Wasn't that during the World Series when Lonnie Smith kept falling down in the outfield? He fell down running the bases one time, and he was yeah. What a great nickname, Skates. He was a good player, though.
Yes, he was.
He was a good player. He is in the Kansas City Royals. No, I thought he was in their Hall of Fame. He is not. You talked about Willie Wilson. You know, they had Dan Quisenberry, the late Dan Quisenberry. They had Freddie Patek on some of those teams in the 70s. Amos Otis. Of course, Hal McRae was a great one, traded from Cincinnati to Kansas City. Fly ball, foul ground. Mesoraco retiring for the 2nd time. Well, we invite you to follow each and every Reds game right here on Fox Sports Ohio. And then stick around afterwards for Reds Live, brought to you by Performance Kings Honda. We'll break it all down. That'll be coming up immediately following the conclusion of our game here tonight on Fox Sports Ohio. Billy Hamilton popped up to the left fielder in the 2nd inning. He's 0 for 1. Bruce at first, 2 away. Reds down 1-0. Reds about hit him 3-1. Billy puts down the bunt, and he is safe at first base. His second bunt hit of the year. He got his first one during the Giants series.
Now, it looked like the one thing that Billy did on that particular bunt was he bunted it while he was in the batter's box rather than running as he was trying to lay a bunt down. He waits to the last second, but he's solid in the box. His feet are still. His head is still. And a good bunt is worth a couple of extra steps out of the batter's box, and he's simply able to outrun that.
No one did that better, waiting, and waiting, than Brett Butler. He was the best bunter I've ever seen.
Yeah, terrific bunter.
Really good player.
And really, it comes down to the basic thing that Butler did and Billy Hamilton did right there is you wait for the ball.
Sure.
And you put it down, and then you run.
I think Butler in size was actually every bit as small as Billy Hamilton is. I don't even know if he was as tall as Billy Hamilton.
I don't think he was as big, no. Boy, he was a guy that you play against him, you love to hate him.
Yep.
I'm sure if he was on your ball club, you loved him to death.
He was a coach for the Arizona Diamondbacks while I was out there, minor league manager. Of course, he overcame cancer. And man, he was some kind of player. 1-1 to count. Barnhart with a chance to tie the game with a base hit. He's got Jay Bruce out there at second base. Billy Hamilton at first. 1 ball and 2 strikes on Tucker, who struck out his first time up. Oh, that comebacker nearly got the corner. Didn't miss by much. Now the runners get an early jump. Reds so far in this series hitless with runners in scoring position. They only had 3 chances last night. They're 0 for 2 so far tonight as Barnhart tries to change that. Payoff pitch. Inning over. 2 hits, 2 left. Middle of the 4th, where the Royals still lead by a run.
I'm Jim Day. You know all about Todd Frazier's exploits as a little leaguer in baseball. Did you know he was outstanding in football as a youngster as well? Frazier quarterbacked a Pop Warner National Championship team, and Kansas City has very good memories for him. In 1997, at age 11, he won the National Punt, Pass, and Kick competition, and he did it right here in Kansas City. In fact, it was at a Broncos-Chiefs playoff game in which he won the competition, and then the winners were able to go onto the field for that game. It happened to be the same year that John Elway and the Broncos won Elway his first Super Bowl. So when we were pulling into the stadium yesterday, he had a big old beaming smile and telling me all about it.
That is very, very impressive. For those of you that have never been here, I mean, you know, to the locals, it doesn't feel like the middle of nowhere. But when you're not from an area and you're not familiar with a town, and we only come here about once every 4 or 5 years, well, we say about, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes away. But right off of I-70, which runs, you know, almost from one end of the country to the other end of the country, that's a highway right out on the beyond the left field wall and just outside the stadium. And then all of a sudden, just plopped kind of in the middle of nowhere is Kauffman Stadium, and right next to it, legendary Arrowhead Stadium, the home of the Kansas City Chiefs. And because it really is just plopped down with not much else around it, you know, it's one of the great tailgating cities in all of America for either football or baseball because of all the land and all the parking space. That one banged into right field, a base hit again by Moustakas. They love their Kansas City Chiefs. There you see the highway, I-70. The cars are getting off there when you have the baseball stadium. And then Arrowhead right behind it. I-70, if you go east, you go to St. Louis. It's about a 3.5-hour ride. And you go west to Denver. I was stunned when I learned today that Denver was only a little more than an 8-hour ride. You know, because we go to St. Louis and, you know, you jump in the car and you can get to Indianapolis, for example, from St. Louis in just a couple of hours. A little longer than a couple of hours, maybe 3.
Yeah.
Here, it'll take you 12 to get to Indianapolis. At least that's what somebody told me the other day. Is that right? A little long, maybe 10? All right.
We're getting numbers all over the place. Everybody's shouting in. We have a tendency, though, to underestimate the driving time. I know we estimated last night Pensacola to Daytona, 2.5, 3 hours. More like about 6.
Whoa. That's even big drive
with you behind the wheel.
We may have to try that. Runner at first, nobody out. Now, you accuse me of being the driver. The driver is the cowboy.
I believe it.
That's pedal to the metal, Doc.
I know. I tried to follow him home one night. All I saw were red lights twinkling in the distance.
Now, see, I was told that by a guy who lives here and makes his living driving. The guy told me that it was a 12-hour ride to Indy. And then after you just said 3.5 to St. Louis, there's no way that's right. Quick throw down to first, and the runner is back. But the bottom line is, it's roughly, as I understand it now, the same distance from here to Indy as it is from here to Denver. Is that about right? About 8, 9 hours? Wow. Two and two to count on Lorenzo Cain. And another base hit. The second time now through the batting order for Jason Marquis. He retired Escobar to end the third. Consecutive singles starting the Kansas City fourth.
That's a really nice two-strike stroke for Lorenzo Cain. He didn't try to do too much. He's just trying to protect the plate. You know, Marquis doesn't have the fastball to kind of enforce his other stuff. So hitters have a tendency to sit back a little bit more, and they feel more confident that, you know, they can eye it just a hair longer before they commit. I mean, if he had a 94, 95-mile-an-hour fastball to back it up, it's a completely different deal out there. Like last night with Ventura throwing 98.
Boy, does that guy throw hard.
But that was only part of it, really. There are a lot of guys that throw 98 miles an hour nowadays, but his secondary stuff was really good. His curveball was excellent. His changeup was very impressive. He really stayed within himself last night.
That one gets away from the catcher Barnhart, and both runners will advance. It's 2-0 now on Hosmer.
I think Tucker kind of got caught in between deciding how he was going to try to block that ball, whether he was going to try to backhand it or move his body over there and just smother it. And as it turned out, he did half of each and it didn't work out for him. That took a really high hop, that ball. I think he read that ball as being so short of the plate that had a chance to bounce all the way back to the screen. That eliminates a double play. That's a big, wild pitch.
Second and third, nobody out. 2-0 on Hosmer. Phillips comes to the plate and is late in that decision, and the runner scores. Brandon held the ball for a second or two there before just letting it fly. By the time he did, it was too late.
Well, we've seen Brandon make a couple of mental mistakes like that in the last week that I can never, ever recall him making in the past. Watch the runner at third base. I mean, it kind of freezes and then he goes. It's almost a hesitation there. And Barnhart is well in front of home plate. I'm not even sure he's going to be able to get the tag on him where he is there anyway. Boy, to give up a run there and not get an out.
2-0 Kansas City in front, and here's Morales with runners on the corners and none out. That is a foul ball. It certainly backs up the adage of if you just put the ball in play, anything can happen. Oh, 2. Well, Morales was not credited, of course, with a sacrifice. He, in essence, gave himself up after Hosmer started the second inning with a double. He just rolled over a ground ball to Joey Votto to get Hosmer down to third, who would score when the next hitter, Alex Gordon, hit a sac fly to Jay Bruce in right. On the corners, none out. 0-2 the count on Morales. Jeff Pico, the pitching coach in his second year under the second-year skipper Brian Price. No one getting loose in the Reds bullpen, but somebody out there is working on doing a bunch of push-ups. I mean, somebody out there, I don't know who it is. It's hard to tell from here. They're just getting up now. And they ripped off about 10, 15 in a row. Here's a 1-2. Fouled out of play.
Boy, Morales really giving Marquis everything he can handle here. Marquis hoping for a ball right back to him. He could shout the runner back to third and maybe get a double play and still not give a run up. That's the only spot that will happen in.
recently signed Ryan Matthews throwing in the Reds bullpen. Still 1-2 on Morales, and he just keeps fouling them away for one at bat. This guy is just an outstanding hitter. When he has been healthy, he has been a very, very productive offensive player who rarely ever strikes out. 8th pitch coming in this at bat. Runner goes first to second. And sliding safely into second base when Barnhart could not find the handle is Hosmer, his 3rd steal in 5 tries.
Well, they don't steal too many times, but they're always looking for some time where they're going to be able to get a breaking ball. And in this count with Kendry Morales up there, I mean, that's what Jason Marquis has to rely on.
Ninth pitch now in this at bat. 2nd and 3rd, nobody out. And just served into left field. It is caught by Bird. Kane will come racing home and will easily score. And it's 3-0 Kansas City. What an outstanding at bat by Morales.
You can really see him shorten his swing once he got 2 strikes on him. I mean, there was nothing that Marquis could throw him that he couldn't at least foul off. When he finally got a ball out over the plate, the way you described it, Tom, perfect. He just kind of served it out there in the left field. Almost slowed his swing down, saying, hey, if I can get it out here, even though he's stepping in the bucket, he's got enough to get it into mid-range and left field to score a very fast runner from 3rd.
Tell you what, if they have guys continuing to hit like they're hitting at the top of this order, Morales is going to have a monster year. I mean, he is going to have a year from a run batted in standpoint that a Kansas City Royal has not had in quite some time. He has 31 runs batted in this season. And you brought up earlier, Chris, this is not a place to hit a bunch of home runs.
No.
We've not seen one in this series.
If you hit 20 here, that's like hitting 30 in Cincinnati.
One ball and 1 strike on Alex Gordon. He had the sac fly run batted in his first time up. Royals won 3-0 here in the series opener last night, and that is a count in which they lead by 10.
Coming into this inning, Marquis had averaged about 10 pitches per inning through the first 3. In this inning, he's coming up on pitch number 28. Second time through the order, they get a little bit of idea what you're trying to do out there, and they put their game plan into play.
2-2 now on Gordon. 3-2. You know, it's interesting to note the all-time single-season home run record by a Kansas City Royal was set in that 1985 season we were talking about earlier. 36 is a franchise record in 1 year.
Wow.
Held by Steve Balboni.
Bye-bye, Balboni. It's another great nickname.
He had some pop.
He hit him so high you just lose him. They would never come down, so you figured they were home runs.
I mean, you're really watching a clinic here, these last 2 at-bats, of guys that may not be getting good swings against a pitcher, but they're just continuing to grind, make contact, foul ball, take a pitch, foul ball, take a pitch, foul ball. finally, Marquis able to put him away. Strike 3. First strikeout of the night for Jason.
Had to take a lot off to get that one in there. That was finally a changeup that he just couldn't wait long enough on. Great arm action. Now the changeup that Marquis throws is a splitter. We call it a changeup because that's the way he uses it, but he actually holds it between his middle finger and his index finger and gives a lot of wrist pop at the end. That's where the deception lies.
So now the catcher, Salvador Perez, he lined hard to Jay Bruce his first time up. That one sails up and in, ball 1. A run in the second, 2 here in the fourth for the Royals. Two and 0. Foul ball and a good thing. Another base hit. This will bring in another run. It is 4-0 Kansas City. And that was something we talked a little bit about last night. This team hitting in the clutch, the numbers are just simply mind-boggling.
That's just good plate coverage right there, Tom. And I'm not so sure that it's really, you can tell yourself to hit in the clutch. But I think you can condition yourself to adjust to the pitcher and to adjust to the count and to adjust to the situation. And when you need a ball in play, that's when you've got to put a ball in play.
This Royals team is hitting .310 this season with runners in scoring position and 2 out. This will be our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. Matthews will replace Jason Marquis.
presented by authority of the Cincinnati Reds and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Nothing ball game as the Royals come up with 3 here in the 4th inning, in which they're still batting. And they knock starter Jason Marquis out. Ryan Matthews pitches in his 3rd game since being signed by the Reds.
Well, the Reds got him off the waiver wire after he was designated for assignment by the Angels. Released last year by the Washington Nationals. He's had some injuries in the past, and they feel like he's overcome those. When healthy, he throws the ball pretty well.
Omar Infante with a count of 1 ball and 1 strike. Frazier will throw on to Votto to retire the side. 3 in the 4th. 4-0 Royals. We go to the 5th. Season for Bryce Harper. The numbers are just incredible. Hit his National League leading 15th home run yesterday against the Yankees. A game winner and the most home runs through a team's first 40 games, 22 or younger. How about that company? Hall of Famers Killebrew and Matthews.
Well, he had 13 home runs in all of last year. Harper did. But his on-base percentage this year, over 470. So, I mean, in all aspects of the offensive game, he is delivering big time, and he's still one of the youngest players in the game.
And remember, this was a guy who, I don't know how scientific the poll was, but it was a pretty compelling study that was done where they asked major league players a number of questions about different issues in the game, players in the game. Overwhelmingly, Bryce Harper, by his peers, was voted as the most overrated player in Major League Baseball. Some of those players may be chewing on those words.
It could be a jealousy factor, and there's no doubt that the kid came in so hyped. I mean, it was almost impossible. If he's anywhere this side of Willie Mays, he's going to be overestimated or overhyped.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, he already has more home runs, I think, this year, or very close, than he's ever hit in a season in his career. As Kozar lifts a fly ball in the right center field for out number 1. And I know for a fact it won't be long before he goes by his single season high in runs batted in.
His overall high in 1 year for runs batted in is 59.
Yeah.
He's sitting at 38 right now. And they will be in Cincinnati, the Washington Nationals,
next weekend.
So you can get an up-close look at Bryce Harper come on out to the ball game.
Well, they planned on getting an up-close look at Bryce Harper today, but he and his manager, Matt Williams, both a fiery sort, both ejected from their game tonight.
Now, do you think they sat in the clubhouse and watched the game on TV together? Or did Matt go off in the manager's office and Bryce go off somewhere else and watch it separately?
That's a good question. Well, you would know. I mean, you've been down there when that's happened a time or two. What do you think?
I stay out of the clubhouse when somebody's been thrown out. I don't want to be collateral damage.
Tell you, there was a time there would be major collateral damage with Matt Williams. I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen a guy that has really learned to harness his temper more so than Matt Williams. And of course, he was front and center for perhaps the most legendary temper a general manager has ever had in the history of Major League Baseball. As that of Al Rosen. Here's a fly ball into center field. And Votto is retired. Rosen, of course, a great player, Hall of Fame player. Became for many, many years the general manager of the San Francisco Giants.
Sure.
And I'm not going to say every day, but you could take it to the bank at least once a homestand. You could look up in that box where Al Rosen used to sit, and there would be chairs flying in that box. Throwing chairs against a wall. He used to come downstairs and just let his players have it. And one of the guys he really used to beat up on hard was the guy he saw so much promise in when he drafted him, was Matt Williams. Want to know to Frazier. The Royals have not allowed a run in each of their last 2 games. They shut out the New York Yankees on Sunday. They had an off day Monday. Shut out the Reds on 4 hits here last night. And the Reds have been blanked through 4 2/3 innings on 5 hits tonight by Jeremy Guthrie.
Well, I don't know where you read that article about the possibility of all the changes being made in the Royals rotation, and then maybe, just maybe, it would be Guthrie on the out somewhere. But I'll tell you what, the way he's pitching tonight, and his last 2 starts on top of that, there'd be a long line of teams waiting in line to see if they couldn't get their hands on him to fill out a rotation.
2-2 the count on Todd Frazier. Taken inside. Yeah, that was a big column today in the Kansas City Star. But like I said, there were multiple scenarios.
Yeah.
I mean, guys being and really none of them, including anybody being sent out, had more to do with it. Somebody in the bullpen and maybe a position player would go. That ball is stung by Frazier into left field. And what a play made out there by the Gold Glove winning left fielder Alex Gordon. What a play. It's an outfielder in the American League.
Now you know why.
Look at that.
I mean, his face right into that chain link fence. Cool. And this is just one of his best plays of the year. He was in Chicago where he made this play.
That's incredible.
That is incredible. Right.
Did not slow down one step, racing towards the stands to make that catch.
He won the Platinum American League glove last year.
As the best outfielder in the league.
You know, you don't really see that very often out of a left fielder.
If they're saying Orlando, was he hit with that pitch or to hit the bat?
He's saying it hit his hand.
And the umpire said it hit his hand. I think.
I would think so. Let's see. Well, maybe it hit the knob of the bat. Although Joe West is going to give it to him here. That's so impossible to see, even in slow motion. Of course, the hands are not part of the bat. And the story that you hear about umpires who remember this or not, whether, you know, you always hear people in Little League games, are the hands part of the bat? Hit them in the hands, it's got to be a strike. Well, have you ever gone into a sporting goods store to pick out a bat and seen a pair of hands on the bat? No. That's how you remember it. They are not part of the bat.
So he is awarded first base, and the Reds will not challenge that call.
Three out of 5 innings now, the Royals have had the leadoff runner on.
Matthews came on to get the final out in relief of Jason Marquis. Runner goes, swung on and foul out of play. You know, that one mental mistake by Brandon Phillips really, really opened the door for that 3-run inning for Kansas City. If you weren't with us, they had him on the corners with 1 out in the inning. Second and third, I beg your pardon, with nobody out. And a ground ball was hit to Phillips. He fielded the ball cleanly and then ran towards the catcher a couple of steps before he decided to throw the ball. And by the time he did, the runner Moustakas had easily beaten the throw. Other runner went to second and third. There's a base hit hooked into left field by Escobar. First 2 on here in the 5th.
Now the infield in double play depth. They've been named you're a couple of steps closer to second base. And it leaves that hole in between first and second and third a little bit larger. And that's what Escobar is able to find, is one right in here.
Moustakas looks at a strike. He started the 3-run rally with a single in the right center field in the 4th, later scored.
You know, it was really interesting talking to his batting coach, Dale Swaim, about his approach and how he decided to change it. I mean, you've got to have a guy completely embrace it if you're going to change your whole batting style around. And for Moustakas, it meant, I'm going to use the whole field instead of just going up there and try to pull the ball. You know, he was a kid that was drafted out of high school, and this is what he's done. And we'll kind of show that this is what he did last year. So what he did mostly last year was hit the ball up here, and that's where there were a lot of outs. This year he's hitting the ball in this area and in this area a lot more, and he's getting base hits. The shift is no longer there, so it's opening up the field for him again. I thought the comment that Dale Swain was funny, but it was also very true. He said, you know, on a shift, when you look up and there are 3 or 4 guys on one side of the infield, that leaves a hole on the other side. Well, that hole is your friend. And that's the way you've got to look at it if you're a hitter that is trying to figure out how to get a base hit when they've got that shift on you.
It's interesting. Dale Swain was a guy you may remember when, you know, with less than a week left in the season, going back to 2008. Well, the Milwaukee Brewers were on their way to the playoffs with Ned Yost as their manager. And with a week to go in the season, they fired him.
They had 83 wins. And actually, there's about 15 games left. And they fired Ned Yost and put Swain in to take over. Swain didn't do a whole lot better. I think he won 8 and lost 7. But they ended up winning 91 games that year, going to the playoffs. And now he's on Ned Yost's staff.
And obviously he was on I failed to say that Swain was on Ned's staff at the time that Swain replaced him. But obviously Ned wasn't holding out against Dale Swain. I tell you, Dale Swain looks 5 years younger since he left as manager of the Chicago Cubs. And there is Moustakas shooting the ball into left field, and they are loaded with nobody out. And this guy can hit. You know the guy I wonder if maybe he's watching Moustakas during this series is Jay Bruce. Because that's a guy who every team and his brother are basically creating that friend that you just described in seemingly his every plate appearance.
Well, Moustakas finally got to the point where his batting average on balls in play were just continuing to decline every year. And the only way you can explain that is that the defense is different. So you can't do the same thing over and over again and expect different outcomes.
They are loaded with nobody out for the number 3 hitter, Lorenzo Cain. Breaking ball away. You know, obviously it's an extremely small sample size, not even through 2 full games yet. But I tell you what, I'm not sure that we have seen a team as impressive at the plate so far this season. And we haven't seen a lot of teams, but even the St. Louis Cardinals, and they're having a great year. But as far as offensive capability and putting balls in play and hitting the ball hard to all areas of the field, this Kansas City team's the best looking team I've seen.
Well, they've had a good couple of nights, no doubt. I mean, the hits in this inning were ground balls that could have just easily been at the shortstop for a double play as finding a hole. But they put the ball in play. And there's a double play ball.
A run will score to make it 5-0. So good work there by Matthew. No RBI, of course, for Cain. It'll be an interesting weekend around here because you have the big rivalry, in-state rivalry. We know the Reds are playing the Indians, but here in Kansas City, it's going to be the Cardinals and the Royals.
I got to figure there are a lot of Cardinal fans here in Kansas City. Probably more Cardinal fans in Kansas City than there are Royals fans in St. Louis.
Well, you can book that.
But there's probably a certain amount of Cardinal haters, too. Makes for a fun weekend. That's what those interleague rivalries, you know, your closest rivalry, your natural rival, it's always a good idea.
Well, let's face it. I mean, that's been a big brother, little brother deal for a long time.
Yeah. Well, the Royals went 29 years between times of trips to the postseason. They're figuring that they need to deliver a little payback.
It's a brave man.
He's here early.
Well, he's a front runner. He's got his Cardinals sweatshirt on and a Chicago Blackhawks hat on. Straight front runner. He doesn't have a Blues hat on. He doesn't have a Cub or a White Sox hat on. I don't know a lot of guys that root for a team in St. Louis and root for a team in Chicago. It doesn't really work that way.
Well, maybe he's like you and just bought that jacket today.
He might be.
He didn't realize it was going to be so cold here.
But don't you have to go out of your way to find that sweatshirt if he bought it today?
You have to buy it off somebody who's wearing it.
2-2 on Hosmer. Runner at third is Escobar. 1 in the second, 3 in the fourth, 1 here in the fifth for the Royals. That ball stung, and leaping to get it is Marlon Byrd, and that'll end the inning. Through 5, Kansas City by 5. Local Ford dealer. Ford, go further. And by Cincinnati Children's, ranking 3rd in the country on U.S. News and World Report's best children's hospitals in America. We're back at Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City, Missouri. 5 runs, 6 hits for the home team. Reds have been shut out on 5 hits. They've left 7. And by far their best scoring chance came in the opening inning when they had the bases loaded and 1 out. And Jeremy Guthrie struck out Marlon Byrd, got Jay Bruce on a fly ball, and he's going to get Marlon Byrd on the first pitch here in the 6th inning. By the way, the Royals are knocking on the door of a franchise record for consecutive scoreless innings. Right now they're at 23 1/3. The franchise record is 24, so they need 2 more outs to tie it. That was set back in 1976. The starters during that 3-game run back in those days: Al Fitzmaurice, Paul Splittorff, one of the great Royals, and Doug Bird. This run began with a former Red Edinson Volquez through Giordano Ventura. And now Jeremy Guthrie. And here's that big shift once again on Jay Bruce. Told you before the game, the back-to-back shutouts, the first time going all the way back to 1992. Look at all the games that the Royals have played since then. That was 1,200 more games than the next team since having back-to-back shutouts. The Royals, if you're wondering, have never had 3 consecutive shutouts. And the Reds are hoping it stays that way. Looking for a rally here in the 6th inning. I mean, here we are closing in on the end of May. And there are people in this ballpark. The park is on. There's a fly ball in the right field. And at the warning track, it'll be hauled in by Orlando, 2 away.
Boy, Bruce hit that ball really well, and it just went nowhere. Now, you get some of these ball players away from Cincinnati and some of these smaller ballparks, and you play in a big ballpark, and they realize how good they have it. Of course, maybe you come back here in July when the weather be a little bit warmer, hopefully. And that ball would probably end up there in the fountain somewhere.
Pretty good rip right there by Devin, who's 0 for 2, and now he's behind 0 and 2.
I wonder if he was able to meet his idol growing up. Jason Kendall's on the coaching staff here with the Royals, and of course, Mesoraco, being a Pennsylvania guy from outside of Pittsburgh, was a big Jason Kendall fan. I mean, big time.
Escobar throws out Devin, hustling up the line. The Reds retired in order. So it is 24 consecutive scoreless innings for the Royals, tying a franchise record. You can vote 35 times on the 2015 Esurance MLB All-Star Game ballot at Reds.com. Remember now, voting is exclusively online. It's available on your computer. No more paper ballots. So vote early and vote often at Reds.com. Won't be long before we probably get the initial round of balloting, early balloting for the All-Star Game. It'll be in Cincinnati. Well, Marquis started, followed by Matthews, and now it's right-hander Burke Badenhop, the pride of Perrysburg, Ohio, and there's strike 1 to Morales.
3 pitchers in this ball game tonight for the Reds that were not on the Reds roster last year.
Morales has had a couple of excellent at-bats tonight, and it just goes to show you that you don't always have to get a base hit to have a good night. After the leadoff double in the second inning, he grounded out to first, advancing the runner to third. That runner would eventually score, and then he had the 10-pitch at bat, culminating on a sac fly RBI to left field in the 3-run fourth inning. Ryan Madsen, the Reds had signed, you may remember, a couple of years ago to come in and be their closer. He injured his elbow, never threw a pitch for the Reds. And now on the comeback trail in Kansas City.
Well, having a good run of it too this year so far.
Good sharp breaking ball there. Down and in to the left-handed batter. 1 out.
Well, he tried a lot of pitches. That's 7 of them overall. He finally gets that slider down and in. Morales swings right over the top of it.
Now Alex Gordon. Mentioned last night, Gordon, a corn husker through and through. Born and raised, still makes his home in Lincoln, Nebraska, and played at the University of. That's truly one of the great college towns in the country. Lincoln, Nebraska. Boy, they love their corn huskers. Of course, they're now a member of the Big Ten for many, 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 many years. They played in the old Big 8, Big 12, and then sought greener pastures for sure in joining the mighty Big Ten. Ball to Brandon Phillips for the second out of the inning. Friday night will come your way at 6:30 for Reds Live. That's how we kick it off each and every game here on Fox Sports Ohio. It's presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing. You know, I get to thinking about, you and I were talking earlier off the air about the Big 12 conference. And one thing for the life of me, which I've never had anybody explain this to me, and I only think of it because they have a billboard out on the wall here in right center field. There are 2 schools in the Big 12 that do something that I just don't get it. What is Kansas known to everybody? They're called KU. Everybody calls them KU, like it's Kansas University, right? Everybody calls Oklahoma what? OU, right? Both schools go by the University of fill in the state. Ground ball to short.
Let me sleep on that.
Because there's only one OU, and they do it the right way. The Ohio University. And it's the University of Oklahoma.
Ohio. I'm Jim Day. It is a tough yard to hit one out of here at Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City, but it didn't affect Johnny Bench back in 1973. It's our Miller Time moment. It's brought to you by Miller Lite. All-Star game in 73. It was the first year of this stadium, and John Lee Bench, I mean, crushed one. 480 feet. Part of a 7-1 National League win. It remains to this day the longest home run ever hit in this stadium.
How about that? Johnny Lee. Of course, they just had the Johnny Bench bobblehead giveaway last weekend. Well, here's the aforementioned right-hander Ryan Madsen. Finally healthy again and back on the hill. First pitch swinging Billy Hamilton, and Gordon will run that down. 1 pitch and 1 out.
Yeah, if you think about it, the guy that we're looking at here, Ryan Madsen, had a great effect on the Reds pitching over the last few years. He was brought in to be the closer, and when he came up lame in spring training and needed Tommy John surgery, lost for the year, he was only signed to a 1-year contract with the Reds. That really forced Aroldis Chapman to be a reliever instead of a starter, which set the course for Chapman to be, of course, one of the more dominant closers around, but it also kept him out of any kind of possibility of really being a starter down the road, which is what a lot of people in the Reds organization want us to see Aroldis do. So had Madsen stayed healthy, we may have never seen the Cuban Missile coming out in the 9th inning, closing games, throwing 102, but instead pitching every 5th day.
I know I would have liked to have seen him in that role, but you know, I mean, that's obviously water, you know, under the bridge at this point. I got to be honest with you, we were talking about it briefly a few minutes ago, and you made the comment, and we see it frequently, of guys that are throwing in baseball, you know, 97 miles per hour. As Barnhart is going on strikes. But I don't know if I've seen a starter in recent memory, Chris, that was throwing like Ventura was last night, consistently between 97 and 99, even up to the 7th inning. That guy threw serious gas last night.
You're right, and that's one reason why they signed him after 1 year to a long-term contract. He will not be a free agent until the year 2020. So they wanted to wrap him up immediately, even before he got a few years in him, and where they showed himself to be really good, and then you got to pay him a ton of money. I mean, it's a ton of money anyway, but sure, relatively speaking.
But as you mentioned, though, you know, he had such great command of the off-speed stuff. Of his 6 strikeouts last night, I think 5 of the 6 were on his secondary pitches. He just had everything working last night. So Cozart with a 2-out single. And now the batter, Brandon Phillips. Brandon's had a good night. 2 out of 3, has 2 of the 6 Cincinnati hits in this game. So Guthrie goes 6, allows 5 hits, no runs. Walked 2, fanned 3. The walks came consecutively with a runner at first base in the first inning. 3 passes to Votto and Frazier before the fanned Marlon Byrd, and got Jay Bruce to end the inning on a fly ball to Lorenzo Cain.
Now, the Reds really never got to see Ryan Madsen pitch. Of course, he was the so-called bridge to Lidge when he was with the Philadelphia Phillies. But he has missed 3 seasons recovering from that arm surgery. And the Royals signed him this year as a non-rostered player, minor league contract, invited him to spring training. And here he is, one of the main parts of the best bullpen in baseball.
That ball into right center field, and the Reds are going to get on the board for the first time tonight. Rounding third and scoring is Cozart. 3rd hit tonight for Brandon Phillips. And it's a 5-1 game, and that will end the consecutive scoreless inning streak for the Royals at 24 2/3 innings, a new franchise record.
Well, Brandon Phillips is really seeing it well. I mean, his foot may be hurting, his toe with the turf toe injury that he has sustained. He's out there playing anyway, but he has hit line drives all over the place tonight. I asked him today before the game. I saw him on the runway behind the dugout, and I said, "Hey, how's that toe feeling?" He was very elusive. He's like, "I've got to play." I said, "No, really, is it feeling any better?" "I've got to play." Typical Brandon Phillips.
Let's see if Votto can run into one. Then you find yourself back in this game. Pulled foul, strike one to Joey Votto.
He's been first pitch hacking tonight. He walked the first time up. He got a breaking ball for a base hit in the third off the starter. And then he jumped on a fastball and got jammed his last time up, all on the first pitch, last two at bats, and aggressive on that first pitch too.
There's a three-hopper to the second baseman, and that will end the inning. But the Reds score for the first time in this series. They stand and stretch in Kansas City, 5-1 Royals. Allows you to watch every out-of-market game live or on demand in True HD on over 400 mobile and connected devices. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.tv for details. And we remind you, Saturday, MLB on Fox Sports 1 continues. The Brewers and the Braves at 3:30 Eastern. Then at 7, the return of Baseball Night in America on Fox. The Cardinals and the Royals right here from Kansas City. Coverage begins 3:30 Eastern Time on your home for baseball every Saturday, Fox and Fox Sports 1. That'll be a big game here on Saturday night. Pitching matchup in that one will be Danny Duffy, having a good year for the Royals. And he'll be opposed by John Lackey, who has pitched very well for St. Louis, an ERA at 2.9. Duffy has really cooled off here recently. He was a guy that sounded to be on the spot more than any other to perhaps be replaced in the Kansas City rotation upon the return of Jason Vargas. The Reds, meanwhile, bring on the former #1 pick, working this week because of a couple of off days out of the bullpen in right-hander Michael Lorenzen.
Now the fourth pitcher overall for the Reds. So Brian Price trying to get everybody a little tune-up work.
Ripped into left field, a base hit by Infante. Nice job by Burke Badenhop.
1, 2, 3 innings. Those don't come easy, although Marquis had 2 of those.
Now, the Reds are not going to need a 5th starter until they get back home in that Colorado series, which begins on Memorial Day Monday. For more on that, Jim Day.
Before the game today, manager Brian Price said barring anything unforeseen, it will be this guy right on the mound right now. Michael Lorenzen will make that start on Tuesday. So you would think that they'd like him at least to go a couple innings here to start getting that pitch count back up.
Good point. Which probably means he would not be available out of the bullpen over the weekend in Cleveland. Fastball off the inside corner. Manny Parra will still have to make a couple of more outings at the minor league level. Generally what they want to do is get a guy on the mound, give him a day or 2 off, get him back on the mound, and then look into doubling up. Can he go on back-to-back days?
So that can take up to a week by the time you get that done.
Sure.
Although his injury was not an arm injury, it was a neck injury. And maybe he doesn't have to do quite as much as far as workload goes.
3-1 on Paulo Orlando.
Orlando really grew up playing more soccer than baseball. In fact, he only played baseball just a few weekends. Track star and a soccer star.
Of course, his homeland of Brazil, the home of what many would say was the greatest soccer player of all time, and Pele.
Where they had the World Cup last, right?
Yes, they did.
He also played for Barry Larkin, of course, in the WBC. Barry was a manager of the Brazilian baseball team. Talked a little bit to Paulo about Barry today. I said, did you know who Barry Larkin was before he showed up? He said, no. I found out after. Really enjoy playing for Barry Larkin down there.
Good luck right there for Lorenzen. A line drive right on the bag where Votto was holding the runner on.
That's a pretty nifty bit of hitting right there. I mean, Votto makes a nice play because he grabs it and steps on the bag. He happens to be in the vicinity. But anytime you hit a ball that sharply, that close to the line in fair territory, that's a good bit of hitting. Period.
Frazier waits, inning over. Scoreless inning for Lorenzen. We're off to the 8th. Royals in front by 4.
Fox Sports is proud to team up with AYSO, the world's largest soccer club. Go to ayso.org/play to find your region and sign up for your fall team today.
Well, it's starting to get a little bit ugly here. It's already been quite cold. And cold is the descriptive word. It is a cold night tonight. Game time temperature was at 52. That's when we still had, some brightness in the sky.
So now it's wet and cold.
Wet and cold. And a lot of fans are hanging in there, but a few of them are saying that might be enough. They'll bring on one of the dominant members of their bullpen. He picked up his 7th save of the year last night. That little guy's not going anywhere. Check him out. To be young. This old guy's been cold. Wade Davis on the mound. He's been serving as a closer with Greg Holland out, but Holland is back now. So here in the 8th inning in a 4-run game, they're going to bring in Davis. Look at those numbers.
I mean, with Madsen the way he's throwing the ball, and he's having a tremendous year, and then Davis has yet to be scored upon. Holland has given up 1 run all year long. I mean, that is one incredible 1-2-3 punch. So you really say when the Royals shorten the game to 6 or 7 innings, they're not kidding. It's not a figurative statement, and they really mean that this game is over in their mind after 6 innings if they've got the lead.
And that's why, to me anyway, I don't know if you would agree with this, Chris, and look, you can say, well, it's a lot of pressure to put on a young guy. Well, you know what, it is. But there's a lot of pressure in this game. Heck, there's a lot of pressure in life. Real pressure. But if Ventura can turn into a bona fide #1 starter, I mean, bona fide stud, top 8-10 pitcher in the league, they may not have to make a deal for a starting pitcher. But right now, they don't have that guy. Edinson Volquez is certainly pitching, capable of pitching, and great stretches for you. But not a #1 guy, maybe #1 stuff, but not a #1 guy. But Ventura has the stuff to be that guy. Now, you walk into the postseason, those 2 guys in the front of your rotation, and some of the others they have here into a postseason series. Base hit center field. And really, at the end of the day, that's why the San Francisco Giants were the champions last year, not the Royals. They had the bona fide difference maker, #1 stud that had incredible impact as a starter and a reliever in the World Series with Madison Bumgarner. Royals didn't have that guy.
Yeah, but I mean, when you come down to the last game and the tying run is at third base, yeah, maybe that's why the Giants got there. But I'm not so sure that. I mean, he in that World Series was incredible.
But that's what I mean. I'm just saying, if there was one player that made a difference in one team winning, I'm not saying it was all on him, but the difference in that World Series was Madison Bumgarner.
Yeah, he did carry the load. There's no doubt about it.
What he won? Did he win 3 games in that World Series?
Yeah.
And the last one was 4 innings out of the bullpen.
And that's when he turned it on. Was in the postseason in the World Series. It wasn't like he was the stud that led him from the very beginning of the year. I know what you're saying now. But you never know who that is going to be stepping up.
Sure.
I mean, you could conceivably see. I mean, if the Reds were ever fortunate enough to get there, that's the kind of thing that Johnny Cueto could do. He's the type of pitcher that can rise to that occasion, and maybe Yordano Ventura is. He certainly's got the arm. I mean, we've seen some good young arms. I mean, we were talking before the ballgame with some of the Kansas City guys about Carlos Rodon. Another flamethrower in this division.
Yeah, they'll see plenty of him with the White Sox. 2-1 to Marlon Byrd. Of course, you have to get to the playoffs first. And right now, the Royals are playing in a division where 4 of the 5 teams are at 500 or better. Kansas City 11 over, Detroit 6 over, Minnesota 5 over. And then you have Chicago at the break-even point. That one's hit a long way, but able to track it is Lorenzo Cain. Those 2 batters have squared up Davis pretty well here.
Yeah, they have. I think Marlon Byrd is just stunned that ball didn't go farther than it ended up going. It was a good 3 or 4 steps from the warning track when Lorenzo Cain flagged it down. You know, the joke around here with as good as the defense is, especially the outfield defense, we saw the play that Alice Gordon made running into the fence. Lorenzo Cain catches just about anything that has any air under it. Why be a ground ball pitcher here? And this ballpark is really friendly to guys that get out by fly balls.
We brought up earlier, you know, this ballpark and obviously San Francisco, along with San Diego, play as big as any ballparks in either league. And it was interesting that the 2 teams that played in the World Series as that one is slipped foul. The Royals hit the fewest number of home runs of all teams during the regular season in the American League. They play 81 of their games here. The Giants hit the fewest number of home runs of any team in the National League. Their pitchers adapt to the parks, and their hitters have to. Giants will be hosting the Dodgers coming up later tonight. Giants winning last night in a shutout. Giants have now ripped off 4 straight wins and are 3 games over 500. A called 3rd strike. Jay not too sure about that call from Country Joe West. Strike 1 to Devin Mesoraco. If the Royals win this game tonight, it would be the best 40-game start in franchise history. The 1989 team started at 25-14, but would lose the next game. Oh, and 2 on Mesoraco. Two and 2 on Devin. Through the wickets of the catcher Perez, and that'll be a wild pitch, advancing Frazier into scoring position. Reds need a bounty of hits in a hurry. Trailing 5-1 here in the 8th inning with Frazier at second and 2 away. Straight up into the air, and this ought to do it in the Reds' 8th. Royals bat in the bottom of the 8th, leading 5-1. Here tonight. I mean, this team just hits. Only 7 hits, but they have made the most of them. Coming up with 5 runs tonight. 4 against Marquis, 1 against Matthews. Great play. One of the best plays we've seen this year. Out in left field off the top, Frazier line drive from the third row. And the Reds will bring on their 5th pitcher of the night. Marquis, Matthews, Badenhop, Michael Lorenzen with a scoreless inning, and now Raisel Iglesias.
Love watching this kid pitch.
It'll be interesting to watch this season move on and progress and kind of see how it all plays out. You brought up the name John Moscott earlier, throwing the ball very well for Louisville, another one of the highly touted young pitchers in the Reds organization. You know, the Reds are going to have to keep an eye on, as we've discussed many times, with both the number of innings for Lorenzen and especially Iglesias, who really has not pitched competitively in 2 years. You know, that Arizona fall, they would he throw a total like 7 innings, something like that. There's a base hit in the center field.
Yeah, you can't even really call that much anything except kind of getting acquainted to American baseball.
It's another 3-hit night for Moustakas.
You know,
man, he is raking.
The first couple of pitches in this at bat, he wasn't sure what to think of with Iglesias out there. He's coming from different arm angles. He had one pitcher was going away from him, one was going in. And it's like he sized up the situation, and he stayed on the fastball and got something he could handle. Iglesias, though, you look at his delivery time, it doesn't seem to me like he's a guy that really puts a lot of strain on his arm. I mean, he's really loose.
Lorenzo Cain, the batter. Moustakas with yet another 3-hit game. He has his batting average up to .342 on the year. Well, the Reds in Fox Sports Ohio would love to send out a very special happy birthday to Susan Delane from Wilmington, Ohio, celebrating her 69th birthday today, watching her beloved Reds take on the Kansas City Royals. Susan, happy birthday. In the old days, we'd be able to sing it for you. Poorly, I might add, but we would attempt to do it. But now in the litigious land in which we live, we can't even sing happy birthday anymore. But we hope you're having a great day and a great night. Hosmer 1 of 3 in the game. Doubled and scored the first run all the way back in the second inning. Hit that fielder's choice to turn into an RBI on the ground ball to Phillips. In the fourth, 3-run fourth. Stole a base, scored in that inning, and then lined out hard to left in the fifth inning. Into center, caught by Hamilton for the second out in the 8th. Reds will have one more crack at him in the 9th. They'll have Hamilton, Barnhart, and Cozart, and they hope for a lot more than that. Runner will advance on to second base. We'll see how they score that. I'm not sure that ball ever hit the dirt. Had a lot of movement on it.
I think you're right, Tom. You know, Tucker Barnhart looking for that ball in the outer part of the plate. He missed inside. So he missed by almost 2 feet, but certainly a ball that should have been grabbed. Not one of Tucker's better nights tonight.
1-1 on Morales.
Boy, Morales, even though he's a tough hitter and he gets good with 2 strikes and really battles, you watch his front foot. I mean, he's looking to something to just yank into the fountain in right field.
The runner steals third base. So here you have Morales, who came over almost a decade ago, defecting from Cuba, and Iglesias, who defected a year and a half ago, swinging a foul ball out of play. Ball driven into deep left center field. And that will rattle up against the wall, scoring Kane on an RBI double by Kendrys Morales. 2 RBIs for him tonight.
You get the ball up, and that looks like just a little spinner right there. And Morales has plenty enough plate coverage to hit that a long way. That ball was smoked.
The official score changed that decision a moment ago from a pass ball to a wild pitch. So now the batter is Alex Gordon. Royals with a 6-1 lead. 6 runs, 9 hits. They've only left 2 runners on base. When they put guys on tonight, they've scored them.
Yeah.
And yet another 2-out hit, driving in a run with a runner in scoring position by these Royals. Now, the Cardinals a couple of years ago had that magical season in like situations that propelled them all the way to the World Series.
It did, but then the following season it went just as cold. I'm really not so sure that. Wouldn't you rather have a team that just put a bunch of guys in scoring position all the time?
Yeah, that'd be a good thing.
I mean, right there, for instance, there's an example of, yeah, guy gets a base hit with a runner in scoring position, but I mean, he floats it out into left field, into no man's land, happens to fall in. I mean, let's face it, the Royals are a real good team, and they're playing very good baseball right now with an incredible bullpen. But they've had their fair share of balls falling in here and then finding some holes in the infield, too, with some grounders. It's not like everything they've hit has been a line drive. Yeah, but getting back to the Cardinals that one year that they had where they batted nearly 300, right, with runners to score.
Over 300. 330 was an all-time record, modern-day record. Anyway.
I mean, that. Isn't it really just a subset of being a good hitting club overall, or does it just happen the timing is right?
Good question. I don't think that anybody really knows a definitive answer to that. I mean, that's why, I mean, it's one of those arguments where or debates, whatever. You can't have it both ways. You can't say, well, it's no skill, it's all luck. I mean, that's absurd. Because the same thing you can turn around and on the pitcher. That means every pitcher that's facing those teams stinks. Just bad timing or bad luck.
Well, we've seen pitchers like Johnny Cueto. When it gets tough, he adds a little bit to his fastball. So there has to be some human element involved, where there are some hitters who can turn it on a little bit better than others.
Sure. And believe me, if you could find out the formula for that.
I mean, it's like a guy in a basketball playoff being able to shoot a 3. I mean, is it luck that he shoots it and it goes in? Or is it a function of him practicing it over and over again?
For 25 years. There's ball 4. So that'll draw a visit to the mound by Jeff Pico. Saturday, May the 30th, the Washington Nationals are coming to Great American Ballpark, and as part of our Super Saturdays, the first 25,000 fans in attendance receive a Billy Hamilton bobblehead presented by Cincinnati Bell. So come on down to the ballpark May 30th, and note the start time there. That is a 4:10 first pitch on that Saturday next weekend. A 2-run 8th, the 7-1 lead, 2 outs and a strike 1 to Omar Infante. Caught by Brandon Phillips to end the inning. Reds will bat in the ninth, trailing now 7-1. Friday night, they'll play for the Ohio Cup. Round one, the Redlegs and the Tribe. And the first series between the two will be along the banks of Lake Erie. Wins in Cleveland, wins in Cincinnati. Both teams have been dominant on the home front going back to 2010 in this series. We'll get it started with Reds Live Friday night at 6:30 from Cleveland, Ohio. You know, we talked about Davis, Madsen, and Holland. Luke Hochevar, former first overall pick in the 2006 draft, 2 years ago made the transition to the bullpen. Had a 1.9 ERA that year. And now trying to, get his legs back underneath him again. Only his 5th game this season. Skip Schumacher will pinch hit for Billy Hamilton, and he shoots the first pitch in the inning down the third base line into the corner for a double. Hey, Schumacher the last couple of games has swung the bat well. Come off the bench and picked up extra base hits.
Well, we choose it sometimes for a strikeout. Here we're going to take it for a double down the line by Skip Schumacher as he hits a 93 or 94 mile-an-hour fastball. What that end up being? 93 down the left field line. Our flamethrower brought to you by Cholula.
They may have to find a start or two for Schumacher. Granted, it's coming off the bench, and you're coming up there hacking your team down 7-1. But hits are hits. Brennan Bosch now bats for Tucker Barnhart. Very, very little playing time for Bosch after winning a spot on the opening day roster with a monster spring. Bosch has played a lot of games right here in Kansas City all those years, playing in the same division as the Royals while with the Detroit Tigers. Cardinals blast the New York Mets tonight to win that series. Final score of 9-0. Cubs in a third inning, a 1-0 lead out in San Diego, and they're just underway, the Dodgers and the Giants. 2-2 to Bob.
O'Shaver really just coming back from Tommy John surgery that he sustained last year in spring training. So he missed the entire year. Just got activated about 2 weeks ago.
It makes it even scarier to think that if he's able to find the kind of groove that he fell into in 2013 when opponents managed to hit a .160 against him. He was the 8th inning guy that year. And then when he got hurt last year, Davis became that guy. I mean, they get this guy, Davis, Holland, Madsen.
How about Elian Herrera throwing 100 miles an hour?
I mean,
the softest thrower we've seen tonight was the starter, Guthrie, and he was at 93.
It could be a 4-inning game.
Of course, all those years as a starter, you develop other stuff as well. Looks like that elbow surgery has done him fine. He goes downstairs with a slider and puts Bosch away. Big dude, 6'5", 225.
Out of the University of Tennessee, right?
As I remember, he was going to be a high-round draft pick, and he decided not to sign out of high school. But instead, he decided to go to college. Maybe not high-round. I look it up now. He's a 39th round pick.
Straight up in the air. Reds are down to their final out. And he comes from a sports family. His dad played professional basketball for the Denver Nuggets. His mom played college basketball and volleyball. His sister, a 2-time All-American at Long Beach State, now plays professional volleyball. And his younger brother also pitched at the University of Tennessee. That's pretty good sports family. He still makes his home down in Knoxville, Tennessee.
A lot of orange hanging around that house.
Oh, yeah. Two. Brandon Phillips has hit the ball well tonight. 3 hits and 4 at-bats. His only out was a line drive to center. He knocked in the Reds' only run with a double to right center in the 7th inning. Two-strike pitch to Brandon Phillips with 2 outs in the 9th. Was that a slider he's throwing 90 miles an hour?
Sure looks like it. I think Brandon's asking that same question.
That's Dibble-esque. Take care of the Reds here tonight, and the Royals make it a 2-game sweep. The two teams will meet later in the summer in Cincinnati. That won't be until the 3rd week of August. In this series, The Royals with runners in scoring position go 7 for 20. The Reds go 0 for 11. Final of 7-1. We'll be back in a moment.